We are becoming planet plastic. A new study has revealed the amount of all the plastic that has ever been made in the entire world for the first time, and that number is shocking. It's estimated that 8.3 billion tons of plastic was produced between 1950 to 2015, and that amount is the equivalent to the weight of 25,000 Empire State Buildings. Only 30% of the plastic that has been created is still in use, and the rest has become waste. 79% of the waste is in landfills, 12% was incinerated, and only about 9% has been recycled. Much of the plastic waste dumped in the oceans has ended up in Arctic waters. Germany, South Korea, Slovenia, and Austria are leading in recycling efforts. Meanwhile, the United States only recycles about 35% of its waste. The only way to permanently dispose of plastic waste is to destroy it with heat, yet this method would also generate emissions that are hazardous to human health. Although the study estimates that the global recycling rate could reach 44% by 2050, that number would still be too low to offset the waste we produce. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews. Keep watching to see the ways in which we destroy our planet and the ways we're trying to save it. Oh, humans, what have we done? Despite having a population of no people, one of the most isolated and inaccessible islands on the planet is covered in our garbage. Henderson Island is a remote atoll located on the western edge of a circular system of ocean currents known as the South Pacific Gyre. Named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1998, the island is uninhabited. However, researchers say it has the highest density of plastic waste in the world. Some 38 million pieces of garbage have washed up on Henderson Island's once pristine sands. Analysis of the trash shows it was carried there from Asia, South America, Europe, the US, and Russia. Researchers estimate that 3,500 pieces of trash wash up on the island daily and typically include household items made of plastic. Nearly 30 years ago, UNESCO said Henderson Island's near pristine ecosystem was of immense value for science. But wildlife, including turtles and crabs, have been devastated by the garbage that has been dumped on the island's shores. Researchers say that trying to clean the island's beaches would be pointless because of the lack of visitors and sheer volume of trash that washes up there daily. They advise people to use alternatives to plastic, such as bamboo toothbrushes and canvas carrier bags, and to bring your own mug to Starbucks. Yep, there's plastic in your sea salt. Karmic justice comes swift with Mother Nature, as plastic waste we've been throwing in the ocean is now coming back to us, literally, via the food we eat. Microplastic particles typically flow into the ocean, since they're often too small to be filtered out by sewage treatment plants. The tiny pieces of plastic are mistaken for food and ingested by fish and other sea creatures. Seafood meant for human consumption often contain these particles, and now a new study shows that salt may also be a vehicle for plastic contamination. Researchers studied sea salt extracted from 8 different countries and found that nearly all were contaminated with 72 foreign particles. Only the one from France was found to be free of contaminants. 30 of the particles were microplastics, 17 were pigments that may have once been plastic, and 4 were dust particles. 21 could not be identified. Scientists say the current concentration of plastic is low and won't affect human health. But if plastic pollution continues, those levels may increase and potentially become detrimental to our well-being. So for now, maybe ease up on the salt, and more importantly, reduce, reuse, recycle. So this is where the waste in the ocean ends up. Researchers say the Arctic Ocean has become the last stop for plastic waste dumped into the seas, and trash is now piling up in the once pristine waters. According to a study, warm surface currents bring plastic trash from densely populated coastlines out to the Arctic Ocean, where the waste becomes trapped. It's estimated that the trash stored in the Arctic Ocean currently accounts for about 3% of the 110 million tons of plastic waste in the oceans. There are approximately 300 billion tiny pieces of plastic waste in the surface water, and it's highly likely there's even more trash on the sea floor. The researchers say their findings reveal only the beginning of plastic waste migration to the Arctic Ocean, and warn the consequences will be felt at a greater scale in the Arctic ecosystem. Say no to safe spaces on YouTube. Support TomoNews at patreon.com/TomoNews.
New report says plastic will outweigh fish in the oceans by 2050. By 2050, plastic rubbish in the oceans will outweigh fish, according to a new report by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation released at the World Economic Forum in Davos this week. The United States, Europe, and Asia together account for 85% of plastics production, roughly split between the US and Europe on one side and Asia on the other. Some 95% of plastic packaging produced each year is lost to the economy after a single use. Out of all the plastic produced every year, only 5% is recycled effectively. Around 40% is buried in landfills, and about 32% reaches the oceans. This corresponds to dumping the contents of one garbage truck into the ocean every minute. The production of plastic, which now stands at around 311 million tons a year, is expected to quadruple by 2050. This will bring the ratio of plastic to fish in the ocean, calculated according to weight, from 1 to 5 to more than 1 to 1. The report urges people to take action and to rethink the way we use and recycle plastic. It also suggests that manufacturers help reduce plastic waste by producing not only plastic that is reusable but also compostable plastics, a new generation of plastics that are biodegradable through composting.
Caterpillars could save the planet from plastic trash. After years of trying to find a way to get rid of plastic waste, scientists may have finally found a solution, courtesy of a drab little bug. Wax moth caterpillars that typically eat beeswax in hives have been found to also be capable of degrading plastic. Polyethylene is one of the most commonly used plastics, with strong carbon-to-carbon bonds that render it resistant to degradation. However, waxworms are able to make holes in a polyethylene bag in just 40 minutes, eventually eating through most of it in just a few hours. Researchers suspect bacteria in the guts of the worms are responsible for digesting the plastic and breaking it down into ethylene glycol, an organic compound. Scientists want to study the chemical process that allows polyethylene to be degraded and maybe adapted into a solution for managing the world's plastic waste.
Researchers discover that worms can eat plastic. Researchers led by scientists at Stanford University in the US and Beihang University in China have found that the mealworm can safely biodegrade various types of plastic. Americans discard about 33 million tons of plastic every year, less than 10% of which gets recycled. A solution to this problem may be the mealworm, which researchers in an ongoing study found can subsist on a diet of styrofoam and other forms of polystyrene. The bacteria in the mealworm's gut is able to biodegrade the plastic as part of its digestive process. Researchers found that 100 mealworms were able to eat between 34 and 39 milligrams of styrofoam per day, which is about the weight of a small pill. The worms converted about half of the styrofoam into carbon dioxide, while they excrete the bulk of the remaining plastic as biodegraded fragments. Worms on the plastic diet remained healthy, and their droppings appeared to be safe for use as soil for crops. According to a Stanford University press release, the study is important because it contradicts the belief that styrofoam is a non-biodegradable type of plastic.